I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Peace and safety to the hopefully elect. All the sincere Akim scattered throughout the four corners, pushing his word in sincerity and in truth. For those who don't know, Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. And Yahushua is the name of the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is another edition to Drop the Mic. And in this edition, I'm going to go into the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and verse, basically chapter 7, and I'm going to run down a couple verses and give you the biblical understanding of what this is referring to, and not private interpretation, such as those guys at One West, those old covenant Israelites, and these bugged out Christians that basically believe that this chapter is referring to, when it refers to the multitude of all nation, kindred, people, and tongue, that's referring to all nations. But I'm going to show you in this edition of Drop the Mic that that's a private interpretation. Alright, so this is Revelation 7 and 2. And it reads, "And I saw another angel ascending from the east." Now we know that angel ascending from the east is referring to Yahushua. And how we know that? When you go to the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 27, it says, "For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth into the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." So that's that angel that's ascending from the east. That's referring to Yahushua himself, having the seal of the living power. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. Now we know those four angels are referring to basically the four branches of the Lord military, which you can read about in Revelation chapter 6, those four horsemen. But this is Revelation 9 and verse 11. And it reads, "And they had a king over them." The they is referring to the four angels, alright, those four horsemen, alright, who it was given to hurt the earth, who Yahushua was given the commandment to. And the king is, of course, Yahushua himself. So it's saying they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Amadon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon, which is referring to, as you can see on your screen, destruction. Alright, because that's what Yahushua is coming to bring, destruction. And here Apollyon, the destroyer. Alright, so that's basically what it's referring to. So I'm going to jump down to verse 16. And it says, "And the number of the army of the horsemen," alright, because those are the four commanders of the Lord military, the branches of the Lord military, those four horsemen. And it says there were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. So within those squadrons of those four horsemen is thousands and thousands of angels. Alright, so it's just not four. Alright, so let's go back to the book of Revelation chapter 7 and verse 2. "And I saw another angel ascending from the east." We know that's Yahushua, having the seal of the living power. "And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels." We know that's him giving the commandments to the four angels. Alright, basically the four branches of the Lord's military, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. And you know they're coming with thousands and thousands of angels. Alright, so reading on, it says, saying, "Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their forehead." Now we know the Lord's servants is referring to Israel, according to the book of Romans. According to the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 4. And it says, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenant and the giving of the law and the service of the power. Referring to Israelites. Alright? So heathens not included in this, man. And the promises. Alright? And the promises. Whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh Yahushua came. Alright, so that's the main point, man. The whole purpose of Yahushua coming on the scene was for the Israelites, man, for that elect. That same elect that's referred to here in Revelation 7, man. Alright, not for all nations, man. And not for all Israel, only the remnant who is over all, the power blessed forever. Amen. So let's get another precept here. Stay in the book of Revelations, chapter 14 and verse 1, to show you who is referring to those with the seal of the living power. It says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000. So that's who with the Lord, 144,000, not all Israel, only the remnant, alright? And definitely not heathens, man, alright? Heathens not included in this at all, alright? As well as you wicked Israelites, alright? So it says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion. Alright, so that's who the Lord is standing with, Mount Zion. Who is Mount Zion? And with him 144,000, having the Father's name written in their foreheads. Alright, so that's who the Lord is standing with, not all Israel. So going back to Revelation chapter 7 and verse 3, it says, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. Alright, referring to who? The elect, man, the 144,000. Alright, so let's get another precept in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 8. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 10. And it says, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. And the house of Israel is referring to Mount Zion, the 144,000, those who the Lord is standing with, not all Israel. After those days, saith the Lord. So this is the Apostle Paul quoting the Lord. Alright? Saith the Lord. That's a key point in this verse. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. That 144,000, Mount Zion, who the Lord is standing with in Revelation 14 and 1. And I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. Alright, the same 144,000 who the Lord is standing with in Revelation 14 and 1. Not all Israel, and certainly not heathens, man. Alright, so going back to Revelations chapter 7 and chapter 7 and verse 9, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, out of all nations, kindred, people, and tongue. Now, in verse 2, you know, John heard the number. Alright? He was told the number. It says, here in verse 4, Salakia. This is verse 4, and I heard the number. Alright, this is John saying that he heard the number from that angel that ascended from the east, which we know is Yahushua. Alright, so when you jump down to verse 9, and it says, after this, after he heard the number, I beheld. When you look up this word beheld, to see, to perceive with the eyes. So after this, I beheld, meaning to perceive with his own eyes. Alright, the Lord showed him the vision, and lo, a great multitude. Now, according to Christianity, this great multitude is referring to all nations. All right. According to the Old Covenant Israelites, this multitude is referring to people outside of the 144,000. And I'm going to show you through the precepts that that's a private interpretation. All right. And it's not biblical. So it says a great multitude which no man could number. Remember, he heard the number that no man could number out of all nations, kindred, people, and tongue. All right, so now let's give a couple precepts to show you that that's not referring to heathens, that that's referring to Israelites. Now here in the prophet Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 10, we'll start at verse 11. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant, the 144,000, the elect of his people, not all Israel, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the isles of the sea. So that's all nation, kindred, people, and tongues. Verse 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed, the elect, that remnant, the 144,000 of Judah from the four corners of the earth. All right, so that's what it's referring to, man. All right, and when the Lord say he's going to recover the remnant of his people, all right, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant, the elect of his people. The Lord used the same language here in the book of Matthew, referring to his people. Here in Matthew 1:21, it says, and he shall bring forth, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins, not all nations. All right, we know the Lord's people are referring to Israelites, according to the book of Romans, according to Paul, what we read in Romans chapter 9. All right, so let's go back here in Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 12, and to show you who the Lord's people are. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, that's the Lord's people, and gather together the dispersed, the elect of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Now, I want to get a precept here. Let's see. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 31. And it says, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect, that remnant, from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So that's what we read in the prophet Isaiah when we read that multitude. All right, that will be your multitude that's referred to in Revelation chapter 7. Let's go back. And it says, a great multitude which no man could number out of all nations, kindred, people, and tongue. Now, we just read that multitude, that remnant that the Lord is going to recover from all those nations, people, kindred, and tongues. Let's get another precept. Book of James, chapter 1 and verse 1. It says, James, a servant of the power and of the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. All right? So, let's see here. Let's get another precept in the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 5. And it reads, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews And this word Jew is short for the word Judah, man. As you can see here in the Strong's definition, it says of Judah. All right. So to be a Jew, you have to be of Judah, meaning an Israelite, man. It says devout men out of every nation under heaven, and that's why in Revelation 7 and 9 it says of all nation, kindred, people, and tongue. All right. So when you jump down to verse 11. It says the Medes, the Elamites, the dwellers at Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia. All right, Egypt, and in the parts of Libya, the strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. We do hear them speak in our tongue and the wonderful works of the power. So that's what it's referring to in Revelations, man, chapter 7. When it refers to that multitude, which no man can number, of all nations, kindred, people, and tongue, is not referring to heathens. All right, it's referring to Israelites, to the Israelites who James was referring to, who was scattered abroad, and that's why the Lord gonna have to deliver his elect from the four winds. All right, so not referring to you heathens. You don't have a part in this. All right, this is not referring to heathens at all. So reading on, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation. Salakia. Reading on in verse 9, it says, and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and palms in their hands. So the 144,000 will be clothed in white robes, not literal white robes. I'm gonna show you what that referring to, and palms in their hands, and palms in their hands. So now I want to get the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra chapter 2, and start at verse 38 here in the Apocrypha, and show you exactly what that's referring to without any private interpretations. And it says, arise up and stand. Behold, the number of those that are sealed in the feast of the Lord. And we know that number is only referring to the 144,000. All right, the remnant, the elect, not all Israel, and it's definitely not referring to heathen. So reading on, verse 39, which are departed from the shadow of the world, only referring to the remnant, the elect, and have received glorious garments of the Lord. And that's those white robes, man. All right. Take thy number, Old Zion. Who is Old Zion? Revelation 14 and 1. Those who the Lord is standing on, the 144,000. Not referring to the whole nation of Israel, and certainly not referring to you heathens. And shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. The number of thy children, the 144,000, whom thou longest for, is fulfilled. Beseek the power of the Lord, that thy people, who's the Lord people, the 144,000, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. Verse 42, I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number. All right, remember John heard the number. All right, he referred to it as a multitude that no man can number. The same way Ezra referred to the elect as a great number that he could not number, a great multitude that he could not number. So it says, stood before the Lamb, Salakia, and after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number. All right, which no man could number, because John heard the number. He was given a number by Yahushua. The same way Ezra here says, I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion the 144,000, a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with song. The all is referring to the 144,000, not all Israel. Remember, the majority of Israel is of their father, the devil. and not of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So verse 43, and in the midst of them, in the midst of the 144,000, not in the midst of you heathens, all right, not in the midst of you wicked Israelites, but in the midst of the 144,000 was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns. He set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal. Only referring to the 144,000. All right, and of course their house, but it's not referring to all Israel, and it's not referring to heathens. And have confessed the name of the power. Now they are crowned and receive palms. All right, that same multitude of all nation, kindred, people, and tongues that's referred to in Revelation 7 with the palms in their hands. All right, according to the old covenant Israelites, that's referring to another multitude, including women and kids. All right, so according to their doctrine, women and kids are being crowned. All right, when we know that's a private interpretation. So reading on, it says, Then said it unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them? So the only ones that's being crowned, those kings and those priests, all right, is referring to the 144,000, all right, Israelites, the remnant, and giveth them palms in their hands. All right, so the ones that's being crowned are the same ones with the crowns and with the palms in their hands, going back to Revelation 7 and 9. And after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindred, people, and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and palms in their hands, referring to those kings and priests. All right, the elect, the 144,000. It says, So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of the power, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to command them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord, referring to those soldiers. Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way and tell thy people what manner of things and how great wonders the Lord thy power thou hast seen. All right, so going back to Revelations chapter 7 and verse 10, it says, And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power that sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne, and their faces on their faces, and worshiped the power, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our power forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these? The same way Ezra, the same question Ezra asked. What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence they came? Referring to that remnant, the elect, not heathens and not all Israel. So being an Israelite don't matter if you don't follow Yahweh Shai, man. All right, so it's about being the elect. And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, the 144,000, and have washed their robes. All right, remember who put off the mortal and put on the immortal, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. All right, so that's who is referring to. Therefore are they before the throne of the power, and serve him day and night. And we know the Lord's servants is only referring to the elect, all right? The men of Israel, the 144,000 elect of Israel, in his temple, and he sat on the throne, and he that sat on the throne shall dwell among them. And that's who the Lord is dwelling among, the elect, not you heathens, and not you wicked Israelites. And basically that's the point. And I hope you brothers was edified. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.